We are following several big stories for you tonight. Good evening. I'm Mike Jackson.
I'm Colleen Marshall. Thanks for joining us at 6. Bitter cold and snow headed for central Ohio. But first, team coverage of that Machete attack that left 4 people wounded in a Columbus restaurant.
NBC4's Ted Hart live with new information from Columbus Police. Beth Delpani live with reaction from the owner of the restaurant. We begin with Dan Perlman in the newsroom with more on the suspect and why the FBI was looking at him. Dan?
Well, what I can tell you is the FBI definitely knew Mohammed Bari. I've reached out to federal investigators here in Ohio. I've also been in touch with NBC News Justice correspondent Pete Williams. Here's what we know. Law enforcement sources confirm Mohammed Bari was on the FBI's radar 4 years ago for expressing radical Islamic views. It is unknown tonight how he expressed those thoughts, whether it was orally on social media or maybe another outlet. According to these sources, the FBI investigated Bari and moved on, but Bari did remain in their database. That brings us to the attack. Officials are still trying to determine why Bari chose the Nazareth Mediterranean cuisine, why he picked yesterday to carry out his attack. Also, the FBI is looking into his possible ties to any known terror groups. Now, a little bit on Bari's background. A lot of rumors are going around about this. As it turns out, he comes from a West African country, but our sources are unsure specifically which one. Live in the newsroom, Dan Perlman, NBC4.
Thanks, Dan. In addition to the FBI, Columbus police are also investigating the attacks, as well as the officer-involved shooting that killed the suspect. NBC4's Ted Hart live at Columbus Police Headquarters with more. Ted?
Mike, while federal authorities look into the motive, what the motive might have been, and any possible ties to terrorist groups, Columbus police still have to sort through the details of the felonious assault, the chase, and the police-involved shooting. Witnesses say Mohammed Bari walked into the restaurant once, asking about the owner, who's an Israeli native, then returned a half hour later with a machete and started attacking indiscriminately. Customers fought back and Bari fled. That led to a police chase that ended with officers shooting and killing Bari.
He had an address here in Columbus.
Columbus Police Chief Kim Jacobs said they saw the possibility of a terrorist connection and called for federal help.
We certainly understand that those possibilities are out there in this day and age, and so it was prudent to bring them in to determine whether or not that was part of the factors.
Mohammed Bari's name and the vehicle registration on the car he was driving returned alerts from the federal database. Early this morning, NBC4 was the only news organization to record FBI agents as they raided a North Side apartment and removed boxes and bags of evidence. Deputy Chief Mike Woods says the circumstances of the crime cry out for answers to the question of motive.
Lone individual, Machete, going into a public place, committing an assault on people that he apparently does not know. Those are the things that give us concern, and those are the things we wanted to answer right away.
And because this was a police-involved shooting, all of the events will be thoroughly investigated, and the case will be presented to a county grand jury. Live at Columbus Police Headquarters, Ted Hart, NBC4.
Thanks so much, Ted. Now, among the 4 people injured in last night's attack was 54-year-old William Foley, a local musician. NBC4's Beth Delpani continues our team coverage tonight with the very latest information on those victims. Beth?
Yes, Colleen, the most critically injured out of all the victims was playing here at the Nazareth last night when those brutal attacks were played out. His name is Bill Foley. I spoke with the owner of the Nazareth, and he tells me that Foley was injured all over his body.
My wife said he saw a weapon with him, had a long bladed knife that flew up in the air after he hit us.
That bystander was just one of the suspect's many victims. 4 people who had actually been inside the Nazareth ended up in the hospital. 3 of them were customers, Gerald and Debbie Russell and Neil McMeekin.
He started hitting on one person and then started slashing people from one side, from that side, and he kept going, and that's where Bill plays on that corner.
But the one who was most critically injured, Bill Foley, a local singer and entertainer, he had been singing at the restaurant. The owner tells me he was slashed in the stomach, head, hand, sides, and face.
It's just devastating to his fans and his friends.
Bill Foley played every Thursday at Nazareth, among other places around town. Bonnie Stern has known Foley for 20 years. She's a huge fan.
Everyone is very just in shock and very upset and sad. It's just unbelievable, you know, that this has happened to him and the people that were there at the restaurant as well.
Stern was telling me today when we spoke that Foley just last year was playing at the casino for Valentine's Day, and now a year later he's in the hospital recovering from this brutal attack. As for the other victims, a couple of them, Gerald and Debbie Russell, they are still in the hospital in stable condition tonight. Neil McMeekin was treated and released. We're live in East Columbus tonight. Beth Del Ponte, NBC4.
Yeah, we wish them all the best. Thanks so much, Beth. Now, NBC4 will continue to follow this investigation. We're going to bring you the latest on air and online at NBC4i.com. Coming up tonight at 11, a woman who helped the victims before paramedics got there talks to NBC4 about what she saw during that chaos inside the restaurant.